Hi, my name is 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐌𝐨𝐯 and welcome to Fundraising with 𝐓𝐡𝐞. This project is all about breaking down opportunities for artists and creatives and make it easier for you to understand what's out there and how to access it. Over the year, I have seen and experienced how it's hard for an artist to navigate this funding world. Information is scattered, difficult to find, language is very complicated with jargon, making it feel like basically inaccessible. In each episode, I'll be highlighting an opportunity, explaining it, dismantling it, and making it easier for you to understand and providing some advices on how to get the best out of it. In partnership with Africa No Filter, 6 specific episodes are dedicated to talk about funding mobility in the African continent as also a way to contribute to spreading a positive narrative about creative mobility within the continent. This episode, I will tell you about the Live Music Mobility Subsidy Fund in South Africa. Live Music Mobility Subsidy Program. This fund is put together thanks to the effort of a collective named Festival Enterprise Catalyst Collective. So if you are a South African citizen or a resident with valid work permit in South Africa, and you intend to organize a live music tour either in South Africa or in the Southern African region countries, this fund is for you. The fund is interesting in the sense that what covers is very large. It provides up to 45,000 rands to cover the costs related to the transportation, accommodation, food subsidies, and also fees and salaries of technicians and artists involved in this tour. It's very important. If you are applying for mobility within South Africa, you are expected to organize at least 2 live concerts. But if your mobility is for another Southern region African country, then you are expected to organize at least 1 live concert. But there are some other additional characteristics or specificity in your mobility that may enhance your chances to be selected. One of which is to give back to the community, the host community. So when you go for a performance, you could also propose to organize a workshop for the other artists, share your testimony in a conference, in a panel, in a masterclass, anything that involves giving back to the host community. Another thing would be if your live performance or one of your live performances in your tour could happen in public spaces like hospitals, school, etc. Another thing is if you could also involve other artists and technicians from that country in your touring, that also will enhance. It's very important also in your application to highlight the job or the revenue that could generate thanks to your tour, because this fund is all about job creation. So in your application, you may want to show how many people will benefit as paid labor in your tour. The application deadline is between February until the 30th of April 2025. Another thing that's very important that it's if you are performing in South Africa, the venue should be registered in the SAMRO database. So to apply, it's quite simple. You fill the application form. You will find the link in the description box below. Make sure that you have your CV, your portfolio updated and in a good quality. Make sure, it's very important too, that your full profile as an artist or the group of the artists performing have their full profile updated in the Music in Africa Foundation. You will find also the link below.
And now we are talking to Monet, who is a previous recipient of this mobility fund. And with no further delay, I will let Monet introduce himself and tell us where he has been thanks to this mobility support program and what did he do. Hi Monet, how are you?
Hello, I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good. Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you as well. Well, my name is Monet, I've just been introduced. And I'm an artist here in Johannesburg, in South Africa, making folk music primarily. And yeah, touring and singing, lots of live concerts. Yeah.
Excellent. Where have you been thanks to?
So thanks to the Mobility Fund, I have managed to travel mostly to Cape Town for a couple of shows, and also to Johannesburg But outside of that, it's also just been a seamless process because of the Mobility Fund. So it's made touring in different cities, also with a band, way easier than it would have been if it was just my own effort.
So, thanks to this mobility fund, you've been touring around Johannesburg and other South African cities to present your work, to perform, etc. And can you tell us more about this, even if it's within your own country, how this mobility has been important for you as an artist first, and for the community you've been in touch with, whether they are your own artistic community or the larger community around your work?
The Mobility Fund really helps, especially even if you're in the same country. It helps you go to a new environment that maybe you have built an audience online and be able to sort of explore that space in real life, and also to grow and build a new audience, especially because South Africa itself, even as a country, it's so different. All of these mini cities and the big cities are so different. And sometimes you want to try out a market that maybe is streaming your music the most, that you don't have access to. And due to the Mobility Fund, you're now able to go do that without having to carry all that risk by yourself, because, you know, there's the funds to help you with the logistics, with traveling, with accommodation, etc., etc.
Thank you. If I ask you about by your larger experience, not only within this mobility experience intra South Africa, but what is the biggest misperception about accessing mobility funding and accessing resources to be able to move with your line of work?
Firstly, I think it's the admin. I don't think artists are equipped to sort of understand the admin that's required by the people who fund us. I think sometimes the forms are too long, requiring too many things that artists may feel like, we just want to sing, we just want to play. It sometimes is too much red tape, or the fund itself requires too much planning ahead, which artists may not have access to, because it's a combination of many challenges. So one, it's not just a logistical issue, it's also an issue of access, not just to funding, but also to spaces. So for example, if I want to play a gig, say for example in Nairobi, Kenya, without funds, firstly, it's harder for me to approach a venue and say, hey, I would like to book a gig to play for the 2nd of June with a 4-piece band. And then I secure the date, and then I go back to apply for funding. It's harder because usually artists don't have access to the kind of resources that will enable them to be able to take that risk, especially if they're not certain about getting the grant. So I think it becomes difficult in that regard. So there's this misconception that maybe artists don't want to apply, don't know how to apply. But I think there's a communication breakdown between the people who maybe want to fund and the artist systems and how those exist. I've realized that like it's easier to apply for funds that maybe have like a 1-page or a single page application in terms of what are you doing, when do you want to do it, how do you need to be supported, etc. And obviously I understand on the funder side there's also obligation to sort of like see, are the funds going to be used properly? Do we have enough information to trust that these funds are going to be used for what the artist said they're going to be used for? So I don't know. I also don't know sort of like what the solution to that would be. But I think it looks like artists don't want to do this or don't know how to do this. But actually, I think there's just a lot of red tape.
Predictable. So building on that, from your own successful experience in securing this specific fund, but I guess you've been accessing others, and we'll talk about a little bit about them later. What would you advise if you are now mentoring a young artist to access mobility resources? What would you advise? What would you tell him or her?
I think, firstly, to tap into the spaces that they already have access to. So if you want to apply for funding for a tour, it doesn't have to start as an international tour. If you live in a city like Johannesburg, then maybe you look at venues, at small venues maybe that you feel, okay, this venue fits 30 people, the other fits 40, the other fits 60. I can manage this risk by myself. And then from there on, while you're learning on the go, you also then start adding other venues. What that does, I think also, one, it shows the funder initiative that you're actually doing something. And two, I think then you're more prepared to handle the challenges that come while touring, because mostly we need these funds for tour. And also you're building community along the way and also perfecting the product. So if I add 3 shows in Johannesburg and 2 shows in Cape Town and 1 show in Nairobi, by the time I get to the Nairobi show, maybe I've added another 2 shows in Nairobi, and maybe I've added 2 more shows maybe in Tanzania because it's close by, because I'm also building community as I go. And also the people who, promoters also and venue owners, are sort of like seeing what I'm doing. Because the thing about art mostly being a product that you can't exactly see, because again, not everyone has access to maybe making music videos or recording their live performances, you don't always know what the product is. But if you have a sold out show, 30 people, sold out, I think the other people whose buy-in you want, then sort of like see that, oh, this person is doing something and there's traction and there's movement. So I think young artists, especially, they should start where they are and start with what they have. We can't all have tours that are the size of maybe the Beyonce Renaissance tour, filling up stadiums, but we can fill up a coffee shop. Yeah. So I think starting where you are with what you have.
Thank you. It's really, really great. Now, just a last question. If you would give an advice to young artists who now go to fill that application form for tour concert of South Africa, this specific fund now, what would be your advices, like technical ones, to really have a very good application submitted?
Firstly, read the fine print, and make sure you're well prepared. They don't ask for a lot of things on that specific one, but the things they ask for are quite specific. So if they want to know the date when your show is, the venue, is your venue registered with the rights authorities, etc., make sure you have all of that in place. And also, if you're not ready, this is a fund that's available over different cycles. Maybe wait, plan properly, and then get the fund. And then when you do get the fund, I always advise people to make the most out of it. What else can you leverage out of this? If you were doing your own shows, how can you stretch the fund such that you get the most value? And what can you do with the fund that you are not able to do yourself? Because I also find that there is no value if you're just going to do something you would have been able to do by yourself. There's no value to you in the way that it would have been. So what can you do for your brand and for your artistry with the fund that you are not maybe able to do, be it a risk or something you've been planning? Personally, I like to use it, to try out new markets that I'm not so certain about, because, someone is sharing the risk with me, so then it's easier. But ultimately, just fine print, and be prepared.
This is it for today. Thank you so much, Monet, for your insight and for your time. Next time, we'll take you to Morocco to tell you about the Africa Art Line Mobility Fund.